has written and plans to produce. So, Josh, you want to come on up?
I've been working on this screenplay since 2018, when I was first living in New York City, but this film is essentially, an independent, film that'll be based here in Mississippi, and it's basically, a hunting trip gone to hell. That's basically, the synopsis of it. And of course, as you can tell, from the promotional poster, the creature that's going to be used in this will be Sasquatch. And of course, ever since I was a kid, I've always been, really, obsessed, like with monster movies, like Jaws and Godzilla and stuff like that. And of course, Bigfoot was one of the main things that I grew up, fascinated by, even though I don't really think a creature like that exists, but of course, still fascinating. But I would say this idea really, came across me one time when I listened to this story of a group of mountain men, who went out into the woods over 100 years ago. And this is where, I got the idea from, called the Eight Canyons. Basically, it was a group of miners that went out, mining for gold in this particular area they were familiar with for many, many years, but this one season was just completely different from them. Because they knew that there was something out there in the woods with them, and they didn't know what it was, because they heard weird noises, saw weird tracks, and then finally they saw what it was that was, harassing them. They basically claimed that it was a 6 to 7 foot tall, hairy hominid, like how Bigfoot is described as looking like. And it basically, trapped them inside their cabin, terrorized them for an entire night. And ever since then, over 100 years later, that area where it occurred in has been known as Eight Canyon within Washington State. But this film is not going to be, like a shot for shot telling of the story. This is basically more of a fictitious, story that's inspired by it. Because, when I first heard the story, I was like, this could really make a good film. You have this group of people that are just, out in the woods just trying to have a good time, then all of a sudden it just goes south when this thing they have no idea what's on their property is just trying, to kill them. So it's basically going to be like a very, character-driven story, where we see, this family of hunters, they're out, minding their own business, just having fun. Then all of a sudden, go south when they start, feeling like this animal is on their property. They don't know what it is, but as time goes on, with the monster just looming over, because this is going to have a very, Jaws-like approach. You're not going to see the monster that much. You'll get glimpses here and there, but it's kind of like a slow build-up to the big reveal. Once, the monster's revealed, that's when things just, start going off and going crazy. But anyway, right now, the script is still in development. But I have a deadline, for the summer of this year, to have it finished and begin casting. But right now, the only role cast so far is the lead role of the film, and I'll be playing, that role of the character of Alan Beck, the lead character of the story. And right now, I have, just a cinematographer and a director on board, and my cinematographer is also a co-writer as well. I recently added him on as co-writer, just to throw me ideas, that could help the story, drive the story forward, while also at the same time, making sure that the suspense is there and the creature is always there, looming over our characters. But anyway, that's enough of my rambling. Does anyone want to ask any questions regarding the screenplay or the project?
How long will it be?
Well, right now I'm looking at a runtime for it to be at least an hour and a half, if not 2 hours, because this is like an indie feature film that I'm writing. And, to kind of help, make it into a feature, nearing a 2 hour runtime, we're looking to start, crowdfunding campaigns, to kind of help boost the budget so we can, create, the most authentic looking Sasquatch that anyone could ever see, and one that, would basically haunt your dreams. But other than that, I'm looking to keep the runtime at least an hour 45 to 2 hours. Any other questions?
Are there any kids in the film?
Well, there's just one kid in the story. And that, of course, would be my character's daughter, who's caught up in the middle of all this mess, with her family as they're being stalked by this beast that's just, wandering around their property, and they get glimpses of it. But other than that, all the characters are mainly going to be adults, and no kids are going to be killed in this, I promise. Yeah, I'm not that.
Who you got playing that Sasquatch character?
Curtis, I know that's you, so you're one of the few people I have in mind. You're one of the few people I have in mind, plus I've been talking to a good friend of mine named Morgan Wilson, in Alabama, who's at least 6'4".
What do you think you'll shoot on? iPhone or what camera?
Well, my cinematographer, who's a good friend of mine and who I worked with this past year on a short film for his thesis, he's got a collection of cameras, and right now, I'm just basically going to ask him, you work with him, on what we can shoot it on, like to basically make the creature, because here's the thing, Sasquatch is normally described as being like 7.5, 8 feet tall, and let's be honest, there's probably only people in Mississippi that are between like 6 feet, 6'5". So whatever camera options that we could come up with, we could play around with it, and just play around with the cinematography to make the creature look at least 7.5 feet tall.
What is the problem with Sasquatch is creating?
Well, it's basically stalking the family. Like this family is on they're at this cabin that one of the relatives has owned for basically for past generations, and as they're traversing through this area, they basically are unknowingly right into the creature's territory. Basically, they've gone away one year, and during that time, this creature made territory of the woods they own, and that's what's causing the problem. Is the creature's trying to get rid of the threat, which is the characters get rid of the threat that's invaded its territory, like any other animal would.
Where are you thinking about filming it?
Well, right now, there are a couple of places I have in mind for like some of the earlier scenes. Like for instance, when we get introduced to my character and his family, we'll basically film some of those scenes at my own home in Bowie, Mississippi, and that's if my parents won't try to kill me over it. But other than that, most of the other scenes are going to take place in the wilderness. There's a couple of other areas that may, try, finding, within like around here in Meridian or near Enterprise, just to film for the forest sequences. Now for the cabin sequences, that's the part, I'm kind of working on. Like, how are we going to do that? Are we like going to film it at someone's house, or if we're going to get a mobile home, for the family to stay in or something? I don't know. But right now we're working on that.
Me and Neil got a couple mobile homes down in South Mississippi if you need to come to fill in.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you can just talk to me like right after the show's over. Anyway, any more questions?
Sounds interesting.
Thank you.
How far are you out from the audition process?
Well, like I said earlier, right now I'm trying, to meet the deadline for the script to be this summer. And once the script is complete, that's when I'll start making listings like in filming in Mississippi, as well as possibly on Actors Access and Backstage, for casting notices. But other than that, other than, my role, which is the lead character, many of the other characters are going to be, need to be cast. But there's also someone here tonight who I have, written a role for. And if he's here, Blair Kelly, you here, buddy? Yeah, I'm writing a role for you, just so you know. So anyway, any other questions? Well, all right. Well, I guess my segment's over then.